Hey, oh. Hey, I'm Blake.
And I'm Dave.
And this is First Prize Films, the podcast where we each select a genre-specific movie, separated by at least a decade, and pit them against each other to find out which film, Dave, in the month of October, wins our coveted title of First Prize. Can you tell us what that means?
Yeah, so it's like traffic cones on a road not being worked on. Pointless. So today we are stalking our way through these supernatural horror movies, and I made Blake watch It Follows, a movie about the consequences of sex. You know, a succubus that stalks you and tries to kill you with his crotch.
Oh man, if I had a nickel. Meanwhile, I made Dave watch 1981's The Evil Dead, a film that tested the outer limits of my gag reflex.
Fucking same.
So we are in our second week of October, Dave. Things are getting spooky, and I'm feeling a certain type of way. I want to know why you chose It Follows.
I've heard the name a few times as it a supernatural style like horror film, and I was like, fuck it, why not? It's newer. It seems like it fits the genre. Why not? So it was a fucking adventure.
It was, man. I'm a big fan of that movie, and I'm also a big fan of my choice, which is The Evil Dead, the original one, by the way, 1981.
Right. Well, of course.
This is such a fun experience for me, like growing up and learning about horror movies. And a friend of mine, Taylor, who was our tiebreaker last season, introduced me to this movie and to this universe. And it's really enthralling. It's really fun. And I think these two movies are pretty interesting to go up against each other.
Yeah, I would say so. I would agree with you.
I was really excited to see both of these movies back to back and see how that like witch's brew was kind of working between them.
It's just fucking scary things trying to kill you is all it is.
Spooky entities of dubious origins coming after you and your friends. Right. It sounds like a good time. An exciting weekend.
Fuck it, it's October. We can get stalked and killed. Why not?
Yay! Things are going to go great for us.
Yeah.
Also, we're never going camping. So...
Agreed.
If you're ready, I'm ready to hop into these. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Movie 1. It Follows, 2015.
All right, Dave, give us the synopsis for It Follows 2015.
After a young woman named Jay sleeps with a guy, she has to deal with the lifelong drama that follows. Not herpes, not pregnancy, a fucking invisible stalker demon that wants to fuck her to literal death.
Sounds awful.
Or awesome, depending. So we open to some girl running out of her house in a giant circle and then back into her house like she can't find her phone. But when anyone asks if she's okay, she's super chill about it. Like, no, I'm okay.
She's incredibly chilly. No, it's fine. Everything's fine. With horror just across her face and everything.
Then she runs back out of her house and into her car and just speeds off because now she remembered where she left her phone. And next thing you know, she's sitting on the beach with her car's headlights shining on her when her dad calls her. And now she's emotional, which I don't understand because clearly she found her phone. So what's the problem?
Everything's fine, dude. Relax.
I just wanted you and Mom to know how much I love you.
She's basically doing that like cryptic goodbye thing on the phone with her dad. You know, like, I love you so much. You know, all that emotional bullshit. Smash cut to her clearly dead on the beach, lying on her back, and oh fuck, her leg is snapped in half.
Bro.
Like it looks like a tree after a big storm.
Either there's a roving gang of beach volleyball players just killing girls, or we need fucking Zach Baggins right now.
Right. Although nobody needs Zach Baggins. Now we're with our actual main character, Jay, played by Micah Monroe, just floating around in her pool like a pool noodle that someone forgot to put away, before telling her sister that she's going out with some guy. So she makes her way inside where we meet our other characters, Paul, Kelly, and Yara, as they sit around watching a movie. After a good minute, Paul finally goes,
"Hey, Jay."
Hey, Paul.
Like, you know, Paul lagged on the high like he had a bad internet connection.
I just want to say before we move on, I'm really glad Jay's mom shopped at my grandmother's house to furnish her own home. Because goddamn, I can pick out very specific pieces in that house that my grandmother owned.
So we cut to Jay in line at one of those old school movie theater type things with her date, and then she asks him to play a game where
You start by watching the crowd.
Okay.
Now, without telling me, pick a person that you'd want to trade places with.
but literally like no one around them flinches. Like, listen, if I'm standing in line and I hear that, I'm at least making a what the fuck face, you know? Also, this is a super depressing game.
I thought that too. I literally had both of those thoughts. Like, if I was standing next to these people, I'd be like, don't fucking talk to me. Don't look at me. I don't want to be involved in your fucking weirdo games.
Anyway, so now they're inside a theater, which apparently isn't a movie theater, and they're playing the game, right? And the dude guesses by turning around and just straight up pointing at someone like a fucking lunatic. But Jay doesn't see the apparent little girl in the yellow dress.
I'm sorry, I don't see what you're talking
Can we go?
about.
The guy kind of panics and pulls her back out of the theater, saying he doesn't feel well. And now she's grilling him on their way to the car about why they're leaving. And I believe the kids these days would say he's sus.
To say the fucking least, dude. Like,
Right.
Whatever.
They're in a diner now, and through the window, there's like a figure walking slowly toward them like they owe him money, but he's just a little lazy. And we cut to Jay walking with her sister Kelly the next day. And Kelly asks if Jay and what's-his-face have had sex.
Have you... No. I know he wants to, but...
Good, dude. That dude is super sus.
Oh, I see. You did a thing with it came back again.
Yep, see?
I don't trust this guy. What's this guy's name? Hugh?
Yeah, sure, Hugh. Now, Jay and Hugh are walking through the woods, which is a part of any good date planned by a serial killer. And then they're kissing on the beach. And then they're fucking in his car, which is super romantic.
Why are they taking like a cross-country trip to like foreplay here?
I don't fucking know,
It's like we're going to kiss a little bit by the beach, and then we're going to walk and we're going to hold hands, and then we're going to fuck in the car. Like
Right.
it's a, it's a thing, I guess.
Yeah, sure. But don't get too excited because suddenly he fucking chloroforms her like it's the 1970s. Like, where the fuck did he get chloroform?
So Hugh is a huge fucking dick, is what we're kind of picking up on this.
Right.
You awake?
Next thing you know, Jay wakes up strapped to a wheelchair in a rundown, like, abandoned building. You know, one that you and I would totally fucking go in and explore.
Yeah.
When Hugh apologizes and promises not to hurt her, which isn't comforting at all, my dude.
Sorry I tied you up to this creepy-ass wheelchair in an abandoned building. Trust me, though, it's totally cool. I'm not going to hurt you.
Right, before he tells her,
This thing, it's gonna follow you. Somebody gave it to me, and I passed it to you.
excuse me, sir, this is not how you tell someone you gave them an STD.
I wouldn't want a sexually transmitted demon either. This is why I'm scared of dating apps, Dave.
He then wheels her to the edge of the building to show her a naked woman just walking slowly towards them because maybe they stole her clothes. I don't know. And he tells her to get rid of it and to sleep with someone else as soon as you can because if it kills her, it'll come after him. This is a weird STD.
Yeah.
Anyway, he lets the sexually transmitted demon get close to Jay before finally wheeling her away while giving her advice.
Never go into a place that doesn't have more than one exit.
Did she get a demon, or is she also in the mob now?
Yeah, this is the best way to initiate into the mob. Really.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
Yeah. As Kelly, Yara, and Paul sit outside playing some weird tarot version of poker, the guy just...
Play an old maid.
That's what I said.
Is everything okay?
Don't let it touch you.
So Hugh just dumps Jay in the middle of the street like she's a bag of kittens he doesn't want and just peels the fuck out as he leaves. Fast forward, and the cops are here asking Jay questions, but not in like the asshole way, but like they're actually trying to help. And man, sometimes movies are just so unrealistic.
Did she catch anything?
I don't think so.
It's the next day, and Jay stands in her underwear, staring into the mirror before looking down the front of her underwear like she's just now seeing her hoo-ha for the first time.
I have those moments myself, Dave.
When a fucking kickball hits the second-story bathroom window, scaring the breath out of her and a full turd out of me.
It's just straight logs, dog.
Now Jay is in class, obviously distracted when she looks out the window and sees an old lady in the distance walking straight at her, but no one else notices her at all. So she bolts out of the classroom like someone who just realized they have to shit and it's almost too late. And now the old lady is following her down the hall as if she's in the slow lane on the highway.
Dude, this is the same feeling I get when I'm at like a family reunion, and that like one weird great aunt twice removed makes eye contact with you, and I'm like, fuck.
But don't you worry, because Jay goes to the ice cream shop, which is totally safe from the sexually transmitted demon. She's recapping what happened to Paul and Kelly, who are a little skeptical.
That's all bullshit, Jamie.
Okay, a lot skeptical. So Paul asks what exactly is supposed to be following her, and clearly she doesn't know, so are you even paying attention, Paul? No one knows anything.
But something's happening. Just whatever, shut up and listen.
I could stay over tonight if it would make you feel any better.
No. Maybe just on the couch.
So now we're at Jay's house, and the whole crew is there. Kelly and Yara are in Jay's room. Paul, who was apparently going to protect them from her invisible stalker, is watching a TV that's sitting on top of another TV, because Don't Throw That Out is a table now, and he's with Jay.
Yeah, and this all makes sense because there's nothing like a sleepover to keep you safe from an unstoppable, shape-shifting, paranormal entity, Dave.
Not to mention a shape-shifting paranormal entity that is pissed that you had sex. So
bring protection, and I'm not talking about condoms.
Right. So now we're getting some semi-romantic backstory between Jay and Paul when
The fuck?
a window breaks from somewhere in the house, and Jay tells Paul to go look, even though she's the only one who can see it. And surprise, surprise, Paul doesn't see anything, right? So Jay goes to inspect, and when she gets to the kitchen, a girl with her front teeth busted out and one titty hanging out walks towards her while she pisses on the kitchen floor like a cat that's mad that you didn't fill its food bowl enough.
Dude, me and this fucking entity are having a pissing competition at this point. I think I'm winning, but it's definitely close.
And honestly, I don't know what's scarier. The fact that she's pissing on the floor, or that she doesn't notice that she's got one chesticle dangling like a weird Christmas ornament.
This frightened me. Again, I forgot about that, and it actually frightened me.
So after screaming in slow-mo, Jay sprints up to her room and locks herself in. Right? And Paul and Kelly knock on the door, and she lets them in before she slumps to the floor crying.
Is something wrong with me?
I mean, aside from the sexually transmitted demon, doesn't seem like it. Anyway, suddenly there's a knock on the door, and the doorknob starts wiggling. But it's just Yara, who apparently doesn't know the proper answer to, who is it?
Oh, and in the way she talks, she's like, it's just me. It's
Right.
Yara. And I'm like, don't talk like that. What
are
are
you
you
doing?
doing? You're trying to be scary, and I
Right.
don't appreciate it.
Kelly opens the door, and Yara walks in, followed by a horror movie version of Larry Bird. You know, like a tall white guy.
It's true. This guy just fucking lurches his ass into the... I'm like, ah!
Anyway, Jay freaks out and climbs out the fucking window before finding a bike in her yard, and she just takes the fuck off. She makes her way to a playground and sits on the swings because the sexually transmitted demon is afraid of playgrounds, I guess.
All work, no play.
After a minute of her looking up into the trees like a psychopath, her friends show up and try to comfort her. And Greg, Jay's like neighbor guy who clearly has a crush but won't say anything, he shows up out of nowhere and acts as if he's got all the answers.
Greg?
What the hell's going on? You okay?
Yeah, Mr. Denim Jacket over here just inserting himself into the gang. Like, hey guys, it's fucking late. I'm here now. I'm Greg. What's up? I never understood why the fuck he shows up.
Jay decides she needs to find the guy who gave her the sexually transmitted demon, so they just fucking drive off to go searching for him. And all that's missing, honestly, is a talking dog in a van. The next day, the gang gets to Hugh's house, or what's supposed to be Hugh's house, but it's completely abandoned.
This feels like a trap.
The gang searches the house, and Paul finds a porn magazine and sits down for a quick read because teenagers will jerk off anywhere. As he's casually flipping through the smut, he finds a picture of our douchebag with some girl.
Whoever said porn is harmful clearly doesn't know Paul's story.
Right.
In this case, porn saved them.
You recognize the jacket?
Lost in high school.
Remember back in high school when you knew what the Letterman jackets of surrounding schools looked like?
Totally, that's the thing.
So the gang is at Lawson High School, and some lady is going through the yearbooks with Jay and Greg, and I guess gives them the information they need because fuck privacy, I guess.
He could just walk into a high school and be like, who's this guy? Like the Terminator 2? Have you seen this boy?
Right.
And they're like, oh yeah, that's Jimmy. He lives here and on the
Here's his
street.
address and
and his
everything
mom's at work from this time to this time, and here's his bank account information.
Oh, also, the sexually transmitted demon is walking towards the school while this is happening, so that's cool.
Oh yeah, that's always happening.
Did they know?
Real name is Jeff.
Not Hugh?
Jeff Redmond.
Do we tell the police? No.
We're at Hugh's house, whose name is actually Jeff, and everyone is sitting in a circle in the backyard like the quiet kids at recess, and Jeff is filling everyone in.
If it kills her, it gets me. It goes straight down the line, whoever started it.
I'm not an advocate for people dying, but it sounds like once it kills the person who started it, then the debacle is over, no?
And I have another question about this. What if the last person who got it travels for a living, and they're flying around the world, and everything's fine, and they're like 80 by the time this thing catches up with them? Everybody else is definitely long dead. What happens to this thing? What now, demon? What's your fucking backup plan?
No idea.
Get your shit together, hell.
It's somewhere, walking straight for you. If you drive far enough, you could buy yourself some time to think.
After driving all night, we're at a house next to an ambiguous body of water, and Greg gets a gun from the garage and is showing Jay how to shoot it by firing at cereal boxes, which seems like a waste. And now everyone is just chilling on lawn chairs on the beach when the sexually transmitted demon that has now taken the form of Yarrow, which is creepy, walks up behind Jay, who seemingly has forgotten to not face the literal only way that the demon STD can't approach you.
Dude. And you see her coming up from behind for like a minute and a half. And I'm like, and there's no music stings or anything. It's just,
Oh my God! Help me! Jay, what is it?
We get this really cool shot of Jay's hair lifting up because the demon STD has grabbed it.
The demon STD grabs Jay's hair like it's out harvesting carrots. Just boom.
So the sexually transmitted demon is trying to take away Jay when Paul hits it with a lawn chair and then is yeeted out of frame. But hey, it worked and Jay is free. And they take off running towards the garage because why wouldn't you trap yourself into a building?
Go into any confined space, please, as soon as possible.
I mean, like, you could just perpetually play a game of run in circles around the demon, you know?
That's a good point. We have the technology.
Anyway, once inside the garage, Jay grabs the gun that she was shooting earlier, the revolver, out of the box that Greg has it hidden in. And she goes and points the gun at the sexually transmitted demon, who just continues to walk.
Jay, please!
So she fires like 4 shots before she finally hits the sexually transmitted demon, and it falls to the ground. And Greg is just in the background like, stop shooting!
What is happening?
But the sexually transmitted demon just gets back up, and Jay literally locks her and her friends in the garage when it bursts open a hole in the door. And after Greg insists that there's nothing out there, the sexually transmitted demon, now in the form of a creepy preteen, well, creepier than normal anyway, walks through the hole. So Jay opens the big door that we didn't know was there and steals Greg's car, leaving everyone the fuck behind.
This was the right move, to be clear here.
Not even wait for nobody. Fuck you all, I'm out of here.
Exactly.
So after swerving into a cornfield to avoid a truck backing out of a driveway, Jay is in the hospital with a concussion or something?
Serious soul trauma as well.
The whole gang is asleep in the room with her. We cut to later, and Greg and Jay are fucking because hospitals are just sleazy motels, right? So clearly they've decided to pass it to Greg.
Is Greg taking the W and the L at the same time?
He absolutely is taking both.
But despite everything that's happened so far, Greg still doesn't believe Jay, right?
I guess he's like real skeptical still.
Greg is kind of arrogant.
Yeah. So it's the next day, I think, and Jay asks,
Have you seen it?
Nothing. I'm waiting, looking. It's been 3 days. I don't think it's coming.
So, I mean, obviously it needs a break from all the walking. So,
yeah, I mean, demons need vacations too, man.
It's just taking a break. Calm
down.
Give
it a break.
And then, obviously feeling vulnerable, she asks if he believes her, and he stutters his way through the least believable assurance I've ever seen. I believe you. Mm-hmm.
Greg sucks, kinda.
Yeah.
He just wanted some friends for a minute and to weasel his way into Jay's pants, and whatever happens to Greg, man.
Agreed. Now Jay is back in her pool, staring at her fence like she's the creepy guy on the bus, before we cut to Greg approaching the others on the front porch. Greg wants to see Jay, but the group tells him it's not a good idea right now. And here we're getting the feeling that maybe Greg still doesn't believe anything that happened. He just wanted to have sex in a hospital.
Greg's a dirty motherfucker, I'll tell you what.
But when they ask what he thinks it was, he just bounces instead. Now it's nighttime, and Jay is just staring out of her window at Greg's house because she's just bored all the time now, when suddenly she sees Greg walking in all white pajamas towards his own house. But obviously, it's not Greg. It's the sexually transmitted demon presenting as Greg.
This sexually transmitted demon dressed up like a 1930s chimney sweep boy, you know, who just like finally got out of the bath for the first time in like 3 weeks. She should have known instantly. Greg is way too cool to wear pajamas like that. Go on.
Greg! Open the door, Greg!
The sexually transmitted demon breaks into Greg's house, and Jay sprints over to the house to warn him because apparently she hasn't heard of phones.
She tried the phone, to be fair. It's just she called from a landline and like, bitch, come on.
Okay, then so to be fair, she hasn't heard of the caller ID and being like, who the fuck is this? And not answering the phone. So she gets into Greg's house and runs up the stairs to find the sexually transmitted demon just pounding away at the door. She yells to warn Greg and...
Greg, don't open the door!
What the fuck, Mom?
The demon STD now presenting as Greg's mom with one titty hanging out because apparently this director only likes one titty at a time.
Never the full set.
Right. And it fucking pounces on Greg. And Jay walks to the doorway to see the sexually transmitted demon literally sucking Greg's life from his body through his dick with its crotch.
Also, where the fuck is Greg's actual mom?
Right.
Where is she? What is she doing?
Well, what's happening is the sexually transmitted demon is literally grinding its succubus crotch on Greg, and it turns him gray, which is the worst way to go out, being succubused by a demon presenting as your own mom. And since it killed Greg, Jay has to go on the run again. She drives and cries until she's in the fucking woods and falls asleep on the hood of the car because, I mean, why not have a nap right now?
It'll keep her warm.
Well, until the engine's not hot anymore.
Well, shut up, Dave.
When she wakes up the next morning, she sees 3 guys out on a boat and gets into her underwear before wading into the water like the start of a really bad porno. Hard cut.
I'm gonna fuck those guys.
Hard cut to her back in her car, completely wet, makeup a mess, and everything. I'm not sure if she passed it to all 3, or was it just the first one that... Never mind. So... So now we're with Jay and Paul in her room while Kelly and Yara are sound asleep. And Paul tells Jay that he liked her too, insinuating that he would have let her pass it on to him. I mean, the lengths teenagers will go through to get laid.
Why is Paul me and I am Paul?
Why'd you pick Greg?
I thought he'd be okay.
Which is a sugar-coated way of saying because he's not a scrawny little bitch, Paul.
She was looking out for Paul. God, I love Paul. He's fine. You would leave your words out of this to Paul, okay?
Suddenly, sweet baby boy Paul has an idea.
What's his idea, Dave?
Well, he takes the 4 of them to the community pool, but not before Jay sees the sexually transmitted demon just standing on her fucking roof in the form of a naked old guy, which is the scariest kind of indecent exposure. Anyway, once at the pool, they gather like 50 electronic devices from somewhere and plug them all in around the pool, which, you know, any good pool has 100 outlets.
Oh, yeah.
You know, within reach of the water, you know.
How do you think I style my hair?
So they have all these devices ready to throw them into the water. So obviously they're going to bait the sexually transmitted demon into the water and electrocute it.
It's a good idea.
Sure. So while Jay stands in the middle of the pool...
Oh my god. I just walked in the room. It's right there.
It's here?
It finally shows up, and immediately their plan fails because the sexually transmitted demon doesn't even attempt to get into the water, but instead starts throwing the devices at Jay in the pool.
I was like, guys, you deserve this. This entity outthought these kids in 5 fucking seconds. He just shows up, looks around, he's like, oh, these kids are dumb. Boom, 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 boom.
Right. Like, this is what you get for trying to outsmart the sex demon. So, luckily, the devices just short out and don't electrocute shit. So, Paul grabs the gun that apparently has endless bullets, and...
Where is it?
It's right there!
Guess what? Paul fucking gets a hit. Well, I mean, he shoots Yara in the leg, but hey, he doesn't miss.
Also, why are you fucking shooting at this thing? Didn't we do this last time at the beach? And it just took a bullet to the dome and got right back up.
Well, he didn't see her take the bullet the first time, so...
I don't give a fuck. Jay is allowing this. She should be like, hey, remember that last time? Whatever.
Where? Here! Right there!
At this point, Paul continually asks Jay where the thing is, and Kelly gets a blanket and throws it over the sexually transmitted demon, making it look like a child trying to scare mom on Halloween. So Paul puts the gun right to the thing's head and fires, and it goes rigid and falls into the water. And before Jay can get out, it grabs her ankle.
Oh.
Don't you fret though, Paul just starts firing blindly into the pool because he already hit one friend, why not try for the other?
Oh, thank God for teenagers with guns.
Right. Said no one ever. But holy shit, he hits the sexually transmitted demon in the head, and Jay gets away and out of the water. Paul asks if the thing is still down there, and Jay crawled towards the pool.
I know, I was like, just stand up, you dummy.
My God. Which is either the ballsiest thing ever or the dumbest. I'm not sure yet.
Puberty's a hell of a drug.
But the entire pool fills with blood, or maybe it's sex demon plasma. Hard cut to Jay and Paul in a locked room fucking because no one has ever wanted to get laid more than Paul.
It's kind of depressing. It's like a sad fuck.
Right. And as they sit in their either post-nut clarity or existential dread, where they both confirm neither feels different, which is usually how sex goes anyway.
Ouch. Ouch, my unfillable void.
Now Paul is out driving where he spots a couple of sex workers. Oh, sure. Give the sexually transmitted demon to sex workers because they sleep with a lot of people, so... Oh, actually, that's not a bad idea. Well, aside from, dooming them to death.
It's a morally objectionable move.
Right. So after a random-ass scene of Yara laying in a hospital bed, reading some long-winded-ass poem, which apparently put Paul to sleep, by the way.
She was reading The End of the Idiot.
I know.
Oh, I was like, wait, it's a book, not a poem.
So the movie ends with Paul and Jay walking hand in hand down the sidewalk as some guy follows behind them in the distance. Roll credits.
Dude, the final shot of this movie, I kind of forgot what it was until I saw it again this last time. Mm-hmm. It's such a perfect ending shot for this movie because is this somebody on their way home from soccer practice or is this demon who dresses fucking fresh?
Right.
We don't know.
Suddenly dresses fresh, yeah.
Who suddenly decides to not dress like a 30s chimney sweep.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like kind of a stereotypical ending to me, but also kind of like, well, I mean, yeah, well, how else are you going to end it?
No, and I think it was nice because it wasn't the, whoa, spooky ghost thing. It's very subtle. It's very small in the background. So we have our closure with their relationship and everything, but we have that little inkling of doubt, literally in the background. I thought that was pretty strong.
I liked it. I really did. I thought it was sufficiently creepy until it was an action movie.
Isn't that every horror film, though?
Not really. I mean,
I think almost every horror film, things are mysterious in the first act, then there's a learning curve and learning thing to get to in the second act, and then by the time you get to act 3, it's all action, baby. You got to defeat the thing.
Well, maybe in the supernatural horror films, sure. But
I would argue most horror films with a spooky ghost or antagonist or monster even.
Tell that to the Blair Witch Project.
Most. Blair Witch Project was groundbreaking and beautiful and is not a stereotypical film.
Yeah.
This worked for me. Like when I first saw
I'm
this.
not saying it didn't. It wasn't as creepy at the end.
I understand that. It was more of an existential thing for me. And what I think really drove home the feelings in this movie, the score for this thing, fucking rules, dude. This is very John Carpenter inspired, very Halloween inspired. There's a lot of Halloween references, and I really enjoyed a lot of those little touches and details and the stillness of the motion, and it was really great. And I was floored the first time I saw this. I was an instant fan.
Right, and listen, if I didn't want to have sex before,
a celibacy, as previously established, is the only option.
As we have said before, celibacy is the only answer. So
thank God we cut off our dicks all those episodes ago.
Well, listen, as much as I like this movie, I'm literally itching to talk about Evil Dead. So can we get to that one?
Let's get to scratching, buddy.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Till the blood drips and our sores itch even more.
What?
Gross. It's going in a gross direction, so I feel like that was warranted.
Sure.
Movie 2, The Evil Dead, 1981.
All right, man, listen, that was a good time with It Follows, but let's fucking get disgusting. I want to hear the synopsis for The Evil Dead.
When 5 college students rent a cabin in the woods that come alive, they have to fight an ancient Sumerian demon that somehow found its way to Tennessee. Follow our reluctant hero Ash as he systematically dismembers his friends and family, all while bringing a new meaning to the phrase harsh environment.
So this is Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell's first real movie, and it was made for absolute pennies. So that's something to kind of keep in mind when watching this thing. Not an excuse, but context for what we're seeing here.
Totally.
Mostly all the out of focus shots. Right. So we open to some POV shots cruising over a little bog in the woods. The point of view, I can only assume, is that of a drunk pigeon. We don't know. We don't know what this thing is, but it's spooky, Dave. We intercut these shots with a group of college students in the car heading into the woods for the weekend. They're all singing to each other without any music like total fucking psychopaths. And I'm already uncomfortable with this entire scenario.
It already feels weird.
Gone 6 months and I got the fear after.
These are our main characters, Dave. We have Scott and his girlfriend Shelly, Ash, played by Bruce Campbell, and his girlfriend Linda, and lastly, his sister Cheryl.
Yeah.
After driving like total fucking assholes and narrowly avoiding a head-on collision with a truck, they cross a concerningly shitty bridge and finally arrive at a cabin. And this cabin is equally as shitty and 100% concerning.
What's this place like anyway?
Well, the guy that's renting it says it's an old place. A little run down, but it's right up in the mountains.
The fact that it didn't have an actual road to it, that's fine, right?
It's totally fine. I also like how before the internet, you had to just show up to a creepy-ass cabin in the woods without knowing if it even had a 5-star rating, Dave. The fucking 80s sound terrifying.
I mean, if I don't have Wi-Fi, I'm not going.
Safety first.
Right.
So Scott approaches the front door and grabs a set of keys from over the door frame, to open it. And based on the look of these old, like, skeleton keys, I'm pretty sure this cabin was rented from the Crypt Keeper. Yeah. So Scott slowly opens the door.
Wait a minute. I am not going to let you just blow past the fact that the porch swing is just fucking donking itself into the fucking side of the house. And as soon as he unlocks the door, it's like, just kidding, I'm cool.
Well, the ground is obviously settling. The cabin is very old. We have no idea what shape the structure is, Dave, okay? It's perfectly acceptable behavior for a cabin. So Scott slowly opens the door where we see some smoke inside the cabin. Yeah. And I'm not here to judge, but this cabin has a 2-a-day pack habit for sure. And minus the shed out back filled with chains and sharp tools and animal bones, the whole place seems fine, completely innocuous, and everybody loads in.
No, listen, hang on. If I ever get to a place that's already creepy on the outside and has an animal head on the wall, I am noping the fuck out of there faster than you can say, where you going, Dave?
Everything's fine, Dave. Stop questioning this. I would not have a second. People in the 80s were so goddamn trusting. I swear, these stupid college kids.
Especially when you come upon a kill shed, you're like, this is fine.
Every tool you can think of to murder somebody brutally is within this shed. And this guy's like, cool, great, convenient even.
Right, exactly.
Now, everything is going totally fine until it immediately isn't when Cheryl decides later in the evening to work on a drawing in the living room. Her hand is apparently possessed by a 3-year-old who just barely knows how to hold a crayon, and she's etching shapes into her drawing pad.
Oh my god.
Cheryl does the logical thing here and tells nobody. We then cut to later when the gang is eating dinner, sharing a drink, and the trap door for the cellar just whips open on its own.
Nobody pointed this thing out until just now? That's the biggest nope of the entire thing. There's a hole in the floor, I'm leaving.
And it's not even just like a hole in the floor, it's a literal like trap door with chains.
Right. You have chains on the floor and you're still, Nope.
There's a factory of red flags going on here. So the cellar door flying open, it prompts our higher education characters to speculate, specifically Cheryl.
It's probably just some animal.
Then Scott replies,
"An animal? That is the stupidest thing I ever heard of."
Yes, stupid women and their stupid thoughts.
Yeah.
So Scott sucks.
Yeah.
And he also decides, hey, considering how fucking smart I am, I'm going to go down into the cellar to check this whole thing out.
Nope. No one goes down there. Just shut the fucking trapdoor, okay?
Scotty!
So after Scott is down in the cellar for like 5 minutes, everyone's calling to him, but there's no response. Like for a long time. Do you want my opinion?
No.
Well, anyway, fuck him. That's my opinion. Lock that shit up and move on with your life. He's probably dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Too bad Ash, he's a real nice guy. He gets a lantern and goes down into the dirty cellar filled with trash and hanging root vegetables to find Scott. Who still sucks.
Yeah, my God. Fuck you, Scotty. I pissed myself.
Hey, come here. I want to show you something.
Scott shows Ash a shotgun, a ceremonial dagger, an old, gross-looking book with creepy images, and a tape recorder.
Yeah.
You know, all the party essentials.
Exactly.
This guy was a real turd, everybody hated him.
Like you.
So upstairs, the whole gang sit around and Ash plays the tape they found with the recorder.
It has been a number of years since I began excavating the ruins of Kandar. Now my wife and I have retreated to a small cabin in the solitude of these mountains. I believe I have made a significant find in the Kandarian ruins. It is entitled Book of the Dead. The book is bound in human flesh and inked in human blood.
Run! Run right now!
How can you hear this tape and not get the entire fuck out of there?
Spoiler alert, they don't run.
No.
Instead, they continue to play with a human flesh-bound book and listen to more of the tape, which details forest demons who possess the woods and can also possess women, so that's cool.
Great.
Cheryl, she's feeling pretty weird about this whole thing since, you know, her hand got possessed and stuff, but Scott keeps playing the tape.
Tatra amistrobin hazarta.
I feel like anyone who reads a foreign language this way can make it sound creepy.
Yeah.
Mi nombre es Blake. Y tengo diabetes. That's spooky.
But also, fucking Sumerian? No, just leave.
But also, the forest is coming alive. Cheryl screams, and a tree breaks through the window, putting a real fucking damper on the whole possession scene.
Listen, why don't we stay up for a while and listen to the storm?
Now, Ash and Linda, they finally get a little alone time after things calm down, right? He gives her this cute little necklace.
Yeah.
Which I think has like a magnifying glass element on it in preparation for when she gets as old as she fucking dresses.
You know, it's such a romantic place to give a necklace. The demon cabin.
Oh, Ash, it's beautiful.
Now we get a POV shot from outside. The forest demon is watching Ash and Linda through the window. It floats past the windows to peep on Scott and Shelly, who are both undressing. Remember Shelly? She hasn't said shit in this entire movie. But she's here, and finally the forest demon floats over to Cheryl's window.
Yeah.
This thing then whispers to her. That sweet, raspy demon must have a way with words, because Cheryl goes right outside and into the woods without telling anybody.
I know someone's out there.
Yeah, she literally just goes out there tightening her robe like it's gonna protect her.
Cheryl needs to watch more movies like the one she's currently in.
Right.
Whatever is in the woods comes for her in some creepy shots, like trees are falling over, and all of a sudden, vines begin to take hold of her body.
Hey, look, it's tentacle hentai. I swear I don't know what that is.
Now, anyone who's actually seen this movie knows what happens next.
Yeah.
I totally forgot, but I have no jokes here. Let's just say Cheryl, she's violated by the vines, the plot point of which amounts to literally nothing. It's just bad all around. She finally escapes her mossy assailant and gets back into the cabin just before the spirits or whatever can get her.
What the hell happened to you? Cheryl, what's the matter with you? Did something in the woods do this to you?
No, it was the woods themselves. I want to get out of here. I want to leave this place right now. Right now, Ashley.
See, this is exactly why I don't like the wilderness. Sexual assault trees.
Fuck.
I don't want to get touched. I don't want to get touched by trees. Okay? Don't touch me.
I don't trust people in general, but I definitely don't trust nature in general.
Exactly.
It's not going to let us leave.
Ash tries to take Cheryl into town to get her out of there, but remember that shitty old bridge they had to cross to get here?
Oh no, it's dead.
It died by suicide and collapsed in on itself. They're trapped here, Dave.
It's not going to let us go. It's not going to let us go. I told you.
So back at the cabin, Ash decides to do the smart thing and play more of that fucking tape that awakened the force demon.
I mean, honestly.
I know now that my wife has become host to a Kandarian demon. I fear that the only way to stop those possessed by the spirits of the book is through the act of bodily dismemberment.
I don't know why, but the Law and Order theme music started playing in my head after this. Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, though, Shelly and Linda, they decide to play a rousing game of guess what random card is in my hand. But you know who comes out on top? Cheryl.
2 spades, jack of diamonds, jack of clubs.
Well, I can't say I didn't warn you.
Yeah, you know, that escalated pretty quickly because Cheryl's a demon now. Cool.
Things are going fine. Let's have another drink and keep listening to that fucking tape, Ash.
Why have you disturbed our sleep? Awakened us from our ancient slumber.
To your point, Cheryl is fully and gruesomely transformed and possessed.
Yeah, but also, I kind of half expected at this point Scotty to be like, Cheryl, quit playing around.
So Cheryl, possessed demon Cheryl, stabs poor Linda in the Achilles tendon with a fucking pencil in the first shot that actually made me fucking queasy.
Oh yeah, dude. Literally, I'm like, that's fucking gross.
Now, there's a lot of dated, low-budget effects in this movie, but holy shit, when they work, they fucking work.
Terrifying. And by that, I mean grotesque.
Barf-worthy. So, possessed Cheryl attacks everyone, but they're able to lock her in the cellar before she can do any more serious damage. Outside of the cabin, the demon plots his next move and breaks through Shelly's window. She screams, and Scott does the sensible thing by not fucking reacting at all and just slowly walking into her empty room. And fun fact here, this movie was so low budget, they actually used real glass for all these scenes because they had to.
Oh, shit.
It's so dangerous.
Yeah, totally.
The making of this movie should be a movie in and of itself. It's insanity.
Shelly?
Anyway, Scott goes to inspect what happened, and he's either really good at holding back his emotions, or he's quietly stoked that the demon broke up with Shelly for him. He's like, bro, this is a win-win. So there's a tense moment now as he looks around for Shelly when possessed Shelly attacks Scott. The breakup is on her terms now, motherfucker. Scott and her wrestle around in the living room for a bit before Scott is able to pull out his convenient Rambo knife and saw into Shelly's wrist.
I mean, dude, you went with cutting the demon's wrist instead of slitting its fucking throat.
And Demon Shelly one-ups him by biting her own useless fucking hand off anyway. Like, that's a power move, dude.
Which also goes to show why you go for the throat.
Shelly then gets stabbed with the ceremonial dagger and spurts milk from her severed hand. But she's not done, dude. Scott grabs an axe from Ash and starts chopping her into pieces. A Shelly medley, if you will.
Which is still moving, by the way.
It's like, it's like twitching. So Scott and Ash cart her severed body outside and bury her. They also take the time to make a little wooden cross.
I mean,
apparently they have a bunch of extra time. Meanwhile, I guess Linda just slept through the whole damn thing.
Yeah, she slept through the whole thing because of an injury to her foot.
Like, I've slept through tornado sirens before, but a pencil to the fucking Achilles and a demon possession might find a way to keep me alert, Dave.
Yeah, fine.
Either way, they need to find a way out.
We can't take Linda anywhere with a leg like that. We don't even know if there is any other way back besides the bridge.
Well, maybe there's a hiking trail or an old road or some other way around the cliff.
They kind of argue it out before Scott basically says, fuck you, I'm out. If you like Linda so damn much, you deal with her, buddy.
I know, he's just such an asshole. She's your girlfriend, you take care of her.
It's so shitty.
I'm getting the hell out of here right now.
So Scott takes off into the woods, and Ash is left alone in the cabin with Demon Cheryl in the cellar and Limpy Linda over here in the bedroom. Oh shit, Linda's possessed now. This actually freaked me the fuck out.
Bro, I'm sorry. Linda sitting there smiling and laughing is probably the creepiest thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
It's so effective, and her makeup is so good, and the music they play with it, it's really effective to this day. Mm-hmm. She just literally sits outside of her room giggling and laughing at Ash as Scott shows back up pretty goddamn quickly.
Ash, it's not gonna let us leave.
The woods fucked him up, and as we previously established, this is why I don't go outside anymore, Dave.
Right.
Between like the hiking and the bugs and the destruction of our souls eternal, I'm staying home.
Cheryl was right. We're all gonna die here.
So Scott's pretty fucked. But Cheryl from the cellar, she has some harsh mocking words for them.
I don't want to die. You're not gonna leave me here, are you? Are you, Ash?
I'm glad the demon visited the fucking local elementary school before attacking these college students.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Now, after bitch slapping the fuck out of Linda a bit, Ash realizes he has to kill her. He pulls out the shotgun, but he just can't quite shoot his lover in the face.
Bro, just shoot her. It's clearly a trick.
Ash is a lover, not a fighter, Dave. Because Linda and Cheryl, they transform back into their normal selves, and Cheryl, all too calmly, asks Ash to let her out.
Ashley, help me. Let me out of here.
Oh my God, Ash, it's not Cheryl.
As soon as Ash is about to let Cheryl out of the cellar, Cheryl's demon arm bursts through the cellar door to grab Ash. Like, girl, you couldn't have kept up the ruse for like another minute. This motherfucker's gonna let you out.
Exactly.
Ash then steps back and gives us my favorite line reading of the entire movie.
Oh, you bastards! Why are you torturing me like this? Why?
So Scott dies on the couch, rip, but also and scary Linda attacks Ash with a ceremonial dagger. He knocks her out and drags her to the spooky shed from the beginning of the movie, if we all recall.
Yeah.
Where he chains her up and turns on the convenient brand new chainsaw. Now we're talking.
Excuse me, a chainsaw?
Ash, what are you doing, bud? I thought we were getting to the good part,
come on,
you know?
man. Let's,
where you start sawing up your girlfriend. Anyway, he sees Linda's necklace he gave him, and I guess he didn't want all that money to go to waste, so instead of chopping her up and making me happy, he decides to just bury her, again, taking the time to make a fucking cross.
Right, yeah, but also, yeah, just leave her in the yard. I'm sure that'll do the trick.
He just tossed her out like the compost. It's fine. She'll decompose eventually.
Right.
So when Ash leans down to pick up the necklace from the ground, Linda's arm shoots out of the grave and grabs Ash because I guess he only buried her with a light dusting of soil. Her ass sits right up.
Right, exactly. It's like I said, it definitely did the trick. Sorry, the opposite of the trick.
It did nothing and you wasted a whole bunch of time. So Ash beats her over the head with a wooden beam before putting in the real effort of chopping her fucking head off with a single swing of a spade. Her body twitches while her head continues to scream at him.
Oh, God.
God damn, I knew how this movie went, but I still was unprepared.
Yeah, that whole scene was fucking disgusting.
Ash has had enough of this shit, so he goes back inside with the shotgun to find that Cheryl has escaped the cellar. Uh-oh.
Cheryl's loose.
Ash kicks her ass out of the cabin and locks it all up before descending down into the cellar like a fucking idiot. Here we're introduced to a brand new character. Gallons and gallons of blood.
I mean, it fucking just pours onto Ash's dumb open face, which is kind of on him for staring at the bloody pipe in the first place.
A pipe bursts, spewing blood. The electrical sockets pour blood, and the light bulbs all fill up with blood. This house is bleeding like a hemophiliac on blood thinners. It's bad.
Shut up, Linda!
Now, after butchering the love of his life, Ash goes into full-blown get shit done mode, and I guess better late than never. Only took literally all of his friends dying and being possessed and trapped in a forest, but fine, man.
I mean,
progress.
That's what it would take, I guess.
From here on out, we get some of the most creative shots I've seen in a movie in a while.
Yeah.
The camera angles are insane, and like they're whipping around, and the lighting is perfectly creepy. There's even a reference to a 1932 Jean Cocteau experimental film in here with that mirror shot, you know?
Oh,
where he touches the mirror.
yeah.
It's so great.
Which, by the way, who reaches out to touch a mirror?
Ash. Now, the possessed house and Cheryl attack Ash.
Fucking uppercut.
Ash starts firing away at Cheryl, but Scott's corpse has reanimated, so Ash fights him with a lamp, which is cool. Ash then defeats him, puts his fingers through Scott's eyes, and that's 2 goddamn movies in a row that I've chosen with graphic eye gouging scenes. Across the room, Ash notices that creepy book from the beginning. Remember, the one bound in human flesh?
Yeah.
It's called the Necronomicon, and it's close to a burning fireplace and partially on fire, causing his possessed friends to smoke a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think this could be related, Dave?
Maybe.
Well, yes, it is. Because Ash here is about to find out because he gets a hold of the book and tosses it fully into the fire. The music stops, and Ash looks at his friends, who have now turned into clay animations that begin to spew oatmeal. They're decomposing. It's gross. If you haven't seen this movie, it's kind of like Wallace and Gromit on acid.
Right. For our younger generation of listeners, Wallace and Gromit is a claymation show about a man and his dog.
No crackers, Gromit. We've forgotten the crackers.
So the demons possessing Scott and Cheryl burst out of their bodies, blowing viscera around the whole cabin, and Ash stands up, dripping in demon blood, with a solid sense of victory on his face.
Right.
And also, they're definitely not getting their deposit back.
Yeah, imagine trying to explain this to the landlords.
Or even the cops, when they show up, they're like, it's just Ash with like a cabin full of blood and his dead friends shittily buried on the outside. And it's like, yeah, I swear it was a demon. It was a forest demon. Please, you have to believe me.
Ash is going to the electric chair faster than you can say, what?
So Ash steps out of the cabin as the cheesy music swells and the sun begins to rise over the trees. This feels like the longest setup to a Folgers commercial I've ever seen.
The whole movie is just a really long Folgers commercial.
I'm just waiting for the logo and the voiceover to show up.
The best part of waking up is killing all your friends as demons.
I think I need to edit this movie down to like commercial length and present it to Folgers. Next time you hear from me, I'm going to be a fucking millionaire, okay?
That's cool, so long as you take me with you.
So the bad times, Dave, they're not over, okay? In one of the coolest closing shots, a POV of the forest demon rips through the trees and the destroyed cabin, out the front door, and straight into Ash's mouth. Roll credits. What a fucking ride. Also, fun fact, this movie was assistant edited by Joel Cohen of the Coen Brothers fame.
Shit.
The Coen Brothers and Sam Raimi were friends, and they all actually moved out to Los Angeles together with Frances McDormand. They all lived in a house together.
That's crazy. I just can't get over how fucking disgusting this movie was.
It's so nasty, but it's so much fun, and I think all the practical effects are a blast, but it still has legitimate ass scares and super effective moments throughout.
Yeah, it made me like queasy multiple times.
Me too. I thought like I felt like this was gorier when I was younger in my head, but watching it again, I was like, yeah, it's still fucking gross,
dude.
This was a major staple of my Halloween season when I was like in high school and college and stuff, and I hadn't watched it in a very long time. So now that we're into October, this really put me in the mood to stay inside and never leave again.
Yeah.
While I'm inside, if you are inside, we can both be inside together separately and move into our next segment, the one where we have to do battle.
Yeah, that wasn't confusing at all.
Just roll with it, dog.
Movie versus movie. Welcome to the Thunderdome. This place fucking rules.
All right, man, we've made it to the Thunderdome.
Finally.
I'm flush with condoms and holy water, so needless to say, I'm protected here.
Great, because I'm covered in blood and gore, so...
You're quite the sight today.
Yeah.
Before we watch these movies, you and I, Dave, we decided on 5 things that we both agree make a good genre movie, in this case, supernatural horror.
Yeah.
So let's go through them.
Totally.
Number 1, we need an overwhelming supernatural force.
Is this thing harshing our buzz?
Number 2, we need a skeptical group dynamic.
Is everyone too cool for the supernatural?
Number 3, we need increasing terror.
Kind of like the day before going back to school, right?
4, it has to have supernatural force as a metaphor.
We all know it's scary on multiple levels.
And number 5, we need a group effort climax.
Ain't nobody better be a pansy right now.
So hopping right in, the crowning jewel of the Evil Dead is its overwhelming supernatural force.
Yeah.
Even before the Sumerian words were played through the tape recorder, this force was possessing hands and jerking steering wheels and shit. Yeah. This thing does not fuck around, and within the span of hours completely overtakes and ruins the lives of these kids, trapping them in the cabin in the woods surrounding it. Laughs were had, yes, but I don't think I would have been able to handle this any better than they did. It's just an all-encompassing fuck storm.
Yeah, it's an all-encompassing middle school bully fuck storm. You know,
it's childish at times,
right.
Yes.
But with It Follows, the supernatural force is incredibly overwhelming. It keeps going after being shot, covered with a blanket, and hit with a lawn chair. But but honestly, this thing, albeit slow, literally never stops trying to kill people who fuck. And you know it's an overwhelming force if it scares you out of ever wanting to have sex again.
I mean, I didn't need a demon for that to happen to me, but yeah, I understand the point. For me, the difference here is that in The Evil Dead, this force just takes on everybody surrounding it, whereas in It Follows, just the people who fuck. And I guess they're close friends. If they mess around too much,
right,
they find out. But I find that interesting, the dichotomy between these two movies and their supernatural force.
Well, it's funny you say that in The Evil Dead, it encompasses the whole group, because it kind of perfectly goes into our next point, skeptical group dynamic. And it's hard for the group to be skeptical when it is happening to all of them. But with It Follows, after Jay gets infected with the invisible stalker STD, literally no one believes her. They all want to be supportive and try and help, but it takes all the way till halfway through, or maybe even, the third act, for them to experience the lazy succubus trying to get Jay for them to actually believe her.
Yeah.
But when they do, they're absolutely all in.
They do support their friend, which is a really great piece of the film. I think the group dynamic in It Follows is a really strong suit for it. The group dynamic in The Evil Dead is really interesting. Obviously, everyone is skeptical of Cheryl, because who isn't skeptical of their sister, but this really draws out the eerie happenings of the supernatural force, and it essentially picks them off one by one. Us as an audience, we know what's going on, but the refusal of these kids to accept it adds an incredible layer of tension that has you screaming at the TV, just chop her fucking head off. The skeptical nature of the group draws out in such a way that it actually increases things, which I think plays into our next point, increasing terror.
Okay.
As with I said with my last point, The Evil Dead ramps up into a horrifying nightmare at a really steady pace. We're presented with little things from like the moments the kids are on screen that increases exponentially until everyone's a demon and Ash has to decapitate his girlfriend and melt the rest of his friends. It just keeps going, and just when you think it's gone too far, it keeps fucking going. This movie is filled top to bottom with unrelenting terror that never lets up.
Yeah, I will say that it starts fast and goes hard, the whole movie. So I'll agree with you there.
Yeah.
But with It Follows, this movie gets creepier and creepier as it goes on. I mean, listen, aside from the last half hour, but before that, holy shit, think about it. Not only does this movie make you look over your shoulder, it makes you feel like if you did see something, no one would believe you and you will get your life pulled from your dick.
I mean, neither of us value our dicks, as previously mentioned,
we just
but
cut them right off.
I get that. And it's interesting too, the way It Follows plays out in terms of its increasing terror, because it does, but it seems very stutter step-y, which I think is fine for the pace and what the movie's trying to do, but it's very interesting how it plays out and how different the entity can really be depending on the situation it's presented with.
Right, which kind of helps us get to the next point, which is supernatural force as metaphor. So I'm not going to lie, okay? I could only think of the supernatural force in this movie being a metaphor for STDs, which felt like too shallow of a metaphor. So I did some Googling, okay? And there's theories of it being a metaphor for the trauma from being sexually assaulted, the inevitability of death, and quite a few others. But then I found that apparently the director said there is no deeper meaning. So I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to take the L on this one. Like STDs, okay, cool. But if the director himself literally says, no, there's nothing, then there's nothing.
Here's the thing. I think directors need to let their work speak for themselves. I have a problem with Ridley Scott for this fucking reason, Blade Runner, and his own interpretations of his own work, which are wrong. But I think with this, I really like David Robert Mitchell as a director. And I think the idea behind metaphor is that it isn't supposed to be, oh, it's this. It means this exactly. It can mean different things. It can be kind of nebulous. And I like that mystery about it. And I think you're right. It Follows has that kind of base level of, it's about sexually transmitted diseases and sexuality and the horror surrounding that. Right. For me, it didn't hit much deeper than that, but I could see where people would pull that from. If we're talking about The Evil Dead, though, I'm also not going to lie to you and say that Sam Raimi had a deep metaphor in mind when making this movie, He just wanted to make some, scary shit in the woods with his friends. But, as I mentioned with It Follows, I do think it opens itself up for interpretation. Mm-hmm. These are young and very stupid college kids, right? The nebulous force in the woods could easily be a metaphor for the quote-unquote real world, right? And how it'll sneak up on you and wreck your life if you're not prepared for it. And, the real world can turn you into a total fucking monster against your will. So I think with this point, I think it's kind of whatever we specifically pull out, because I think that hits deep for me with The Evil Dead. So whether it was intended or not, I kind of felt that.
That feels like kind of a stretch to me, but that's fine. If that's what it means to you, then I support you. I'm not really sure what that means for It Follows and me, though.
Well, I'm not going to get into your climaxes, but we can get into the group effort climax, our next point. While everyone's dead or possessed by the climax in The Evil Dead, leaving Ash to be our sole survivor, the thing I think that got him to this point is the group and everything they learned up until that point.
Which was nothing.
It's not the strongest point in this movie, I admit.
Yeah.
But I think Ash was able to learn from his friends' actions, mostly the wrong actions, and figure out a way to hold off the force he's fighting against. So it was a group effort, yes, but a single person's job. That's my spin.
Yeah, you're fucking a DJ with that kind of spin.
Era.
With It Follows, this climax is full on group effort, okay? All of our main characters that haven't gotten their life sucked out from their genitals band together to try and outsmart the stalker STD. Everyone has a purpose in this climax. Jay is the bait, Paul attacks it, Kelly brilliantly helps Paul see it with the blanket, and Yara gets shot. But in the end, they find a way to at least stall it long enough for Jay and Paul to come up with the real plan to get rid of it. So it's this point's no contest. It Follows really does have the full-on group climax where everybody helps.
Yara taking the bullet for the homies. Not that she had to. It was actually just a horrible mistake. But I guess I'm just trying to be nice here.
Well, at least one of us is. So
I'm not gonna lie. This leaves me kind of in a tough position.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I love both of these movies, and I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Well, let's find out.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, look, we did it. It's the finish line. We're at the finish line. Can I go home yet? Alright.
Okay, so listen, I liked both of these movies in different ways. I enjoyed It Follows because it was creepy.
Yeah.
It had a cool story. It had a decent pace. I liked the characters, and I liked The Evil Dead because it made me so fucking uncomfortable.
Totally
creeped out, but generally just just so uncomfortable and grossed the fuck out.
Yeah.
But I think both of our movies tied in every one of the points. I don't think there's one that one beat out the other, honestly, except for the group dynamic thing. But that's fine. You made a case enough for me to accept it. But so honestly, I think I'm just gonna have to go with my gut, and my gut is still grumbling from The Evil Dead. So we're gonna go with that. I think The Evil Dead is the better of the two.
Whoa. Okay. I've deeply underestimated you this entire season. I really, really have, Dave. I just want to say you're growing at an exponential rate.
Hey, fuck you.
I mean that as an absolute compliment. Dude, I'm not going to fucking lie to you. This is really hard. I go into these movies as judgment-free as possible. I want to experience both of them and do my best to determine what's going to be the best genre movie. And holy fucking shit, It Follows when it came out was a big staple for me. I loved it. I fell in love with the director, and I just was obsessed with it for a minute. And for me watching these again, The Evil Dead was kind of a nostalgic thing for me. I always try to slough those feelings off before I go into it, and I really loved it again. I really loved it. It's so weird and gross and uncomfortable, and it leaves me in this position where I'm like, they're both really great films that I would recommend to anybody. And I'm not gonna lie, I think what stuck with me longer and scared me more was It Follows. I'm not doing this to be to create tension. I thought I was going to pick The Evil Dead after I saw it, and then I watched It Follows. I'm like, fuck, this movie's so good, and it really played for me again. I feel bad. I feel bad. I feel like I've cheated on somebody. But I have to go with It Follows.
I mean, honestly, it makes a lot of sense that the movie about sex scares you more than the movie about demons.
It's so true, man.
Yeah.
That leaves us in an interesting position, I think.
Yes, it's our first tiebreaker of the season.
This is the captain. Red alert. Red alert.
Welcome to the tiebreaker.
I called the last tiebreaker person.
Yeah.
Then I think it's your turn now.
And I do have somebody to call.
Perfect.
Yo, dude, do you have a minute?
I'm in the car right now. What's up?
Okay, so Dave and I were tied for our choices. We're doing supernatural horror, It Follows versus the original The Evil Dead, and we need a tiebreaker here.
Okay. So of course, It Follows is a more recent horror film, and Evil Dead is very campy and rooted with a lot of horror tropes, and it was a very budgeted film which I give a lot of respect to. Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell kind of pieced that baby together. Some of the practical effects for its time, too, and the stop-motion animation. So I think that has a lot of elements going for it and working in the horror genre. It Follows it's interesting. I don't know. For me, at least, I could not get around the annoying, whiny teen. It caused a lot of problems for me, and I don't know. I thought the premise of the movie was interesting. That essentially, like, you know, it kind of has metaphors, obviously, with, you know, like, younger kids and having sex and, you know, like, having safe sex and all this stuff. So I think it presents some really cool elements. But unfortunately, it's been a little bit since I've seen It Follows, but it just did not leave me with the lasting impression that The Evil Dead has for years and years. Evil Dead is just solid through and through, so for that, I will have to go with The Evil Dead. Shout out Sam Raimi.
Hey!
All right. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you leveling it out for us and giving us your full thoughts, because this was a tough one to decide between, and I think you really kind of hit the nail on the head with your assessment here. So thank you. You are our official tiebreaker.
Yay!
The Evil Dead wins, so much appreciated, my friend.
You boys play safe now, okay?
we try our best, my
I'm
dude.
not promising anything.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, thanks, Max. Bye.
All right, bye.
There you have it.
Oh, man. Okay, cool.
We have a winner. It is The Evil Dead.
Look at that.
Is our official winner, and I'm not even upset about it.
This is an interesting ending, though, because this is the first time in our show's very short history that we have picked each other's movies.
Oh, yeah. You did some really good convincing for me, and I struggled with this throughout the entire read of this whole episode.
Right.
I was, like, bouncing back and forth. It was a really great experience to watch these back-to-back.
Yeah, I agree.
I definitely recommend that. I recommend both of these movies. I also recommend never having sex again.
Celibacy is the only answer. So, never going to the woods is my recommendation.
Oh man, I feel
bittersweet.
Yeah, I think bittersweet is the correct term here. It's not bad. I feel like I just want to watch more horror movies.
I know,
actually.
Man. I'm just so glad that it's currently fall.
Oh, God, it feels so good. I don't know if you can smell me through the camera, but I smell like pumpkin spice, baby.
I smell like bonfires and regret.
Yeah, these leggings are getting a little tight though, so I think we need to wrap this up.
Yeah.
My butt sweat in these yoga pants is just not holding up.
Well, better than trees trying to take you to the woods and have their way with you. So
it's so true. Anyway, I'm scared of sex.
Hey, First Prize listeners, thanks for tuning in this week. Thanks for getting uncomfortably creeped out with us.
Ugh.
If you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed hearing about horny demons, consider subscribing to our socials. It's at First Prize Pod on all platforms, and that includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we're on TikTok and YouTube as well. Also, don't forget to check out our website. It's firstprizefilms.com.
Yep, we do this for free because I've sacrificed all my friends to the forest demons for internet clout. But if you would still like to support us, consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, or come hang out on Twitch. We're streaming every week. We're talking about movies, having some laughs, and chatting with all of you.
Gonna be a really good time, probably, maybe. So join us next week as we continue our month of scary shit and fear things our brains will never comprehend with these sci-fi horror films.
Ooh, this is gonna be a tough one. We're talking about Annihilation 2018 versus The Thing 1983.
Totally. It's gonna be gross and scary.
Don't confuse that with the documentary of my life. I'll see you next week.
See ya!
Bye!
She's like, fuck it. One of you take this thing from me.
It's demon sex roulette.
Oh, God.